Your palms are sweating. Your jaw is clenched so tight it aches. You haven't moved in 40 minutes. You've forgotten you're hungry. You've forgotten you're tired. You've forgotten that all of this, is just a game being played by strangers on a screen. And yet your entire nervous system is treating it like the most important moment of your life. Why? Why does a human being, a rational, functioning adult, sit in a stadium and scream until their throat bleeds for a team that doesn't know their name? Why do we cry when athletes we've never met stand on a podium? Why does a single goal, a single pitch, a single finish line crossed, why does it reach inside our chest and rearrange something? The answer isn't passion. It isn't loyalty. It isn't even love of the game. The answer is inside your brain, and it is far more fascinating and far more ancient than anyone told you. What if I told you that watching sports triggers the same biological responses as actually playing them? What if the reason you can't stop watching, can't stop caring, can't stop coming back after every heartbreak and every loss has nothing to do with willpower or personality, and everything to do with the way your brain was built? Neuroscience has been studying sports fans for decades now, and what they've found doesn't just explain why we watch, it explains something much deeper about what it means to be human. Segment 1, your body doesn't know, it's watching. Let's start with something that should stop you cold. When your favorite team scores, your brain lights up in exactly the same regions as if you scored. Not metaphorically, not approximately, the same neural circuits, the same activation patterns, the same electrochemical storm. Scientists placed athletes and sports fans in brain scanners and monitored what happened when both groups watched game footage. What they found was extraordinary. The neural signatures were nearly identical. The spectator's brain, on a biological level, was playing the game. This happens because of one of the most remarkable structures in the human nervous system, mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are cells that activate not just when you perform an action, but when you observe one. When you watch someone throw a ball, the neurons responsible for throwing fire in your own brain. When you watch someone sprint toward a finish line, your motor cortex prepares to run. And here's what makes this even more astonishing. It doesn't even require a visual. Certain mirror neurons activate just from hearing the word ball, just from the concept entering your mind. This is how empathy works at the cellular level. This is how you can feel what another person feels without living their experience. Your brain doesn't just interpret the actions of others, it simulates them, running an internal model of what it would feel like to be inside that body, making that movement, in that moment. When your athlete crosses the finish line, you don't just see them win, your nervous system experiences winning. Segment 2. The hormone storm you never knew was happening. Now add chemistry to this picture. Your body is not a passive observer of your emotional life. It is a biochemical ecosystem that responds to every experience, real or witnessed, with a precise cocktail of hormones, each one shaping how you feel, how you think, and what you want to do next. You already know some of this intuitively. A hug from someone you love releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and you feel calmer, safer, more connected. An all-night study session floods your system with cortisol, the stress hormone, and you feel wired, irritable, hyper-alert. But here is what most people don't realize. Watching sports triggers the same hormonal cascades as living them. Testosterone is the one that will surprise you most. We tend to think of testosterone as a physical hormone. Muscle growth, aggression, dominance. But its effects on the brain are profound and underappreciated. Testosterone enhances spatial awareness. It sharpens competitive cognition. It increases the brain's processing speed in high-stakes situations. And scientists have documented something that sounds almost too strange to be true. When your team wins, your testosterone levels rise significantly. When your team loses, they drop. You didn't play a single minute. You sat in a seat or on a couch, and your endocrine system responded as though the outcome was your own. This was documented with striking clarity during the 2008 United States presidential election. Researchers measured testosterone levels in male voters before and after the results were announced. Men who had voted for Barack Obama showed a marked testosterone surge after his victory. Men who had voted for John McCain experienced a measurable drop, No physical competition, no athletic event, just the outcome of a contest they cared about. Your body doesn't distinguish between winning and watching someone you identify with win. The biology is the same. Segment 3. The dopamine loop. That keeps you coming back now here is where obsession enters the picture. Every time your team wins, every time your athlete takes home the gold, completes the impossible play, survives the comeback that shouldn't have been possible, your brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is one of the most powerful neurochemicals in existence. It is the molecule of anticipation, of reward, of the pleasure that follows achievement. It floods the nucleus accumbens, the brain's reward center, and produces a sensation that neurologically resembles the effect of certain addictive substances. But dopamine does something else that explains why sports fandom doesn't just feel good in the moment. It compounds over time. Dopamine enhances memory consolidation and learning. The stronger the emotional and physiological response to an experience, the more deeply it is encoded in long-term memory. The details become vivid, permanent, retrievable with startling clarity years later. This is why you can remember exactly where you were when your team won the championship 15 years ago. The smell of the room, the sound of the crowd, the specific texture of that moment. When you can barely recall what you had for lunch on Tuesday, your brain has filed that memory under "this mattered" and protected it accordingly. And the next time you watch a game, your brain recognizes the setup, the familiar ritual, the teams, the tension, and begins releasing dopamine in anticipation of the reward. Before anything has happened, before anyone has scored, you are, in the most precise neurological sense, addicted to the possibility of how it might feel, not to sports, to the memory of what winning felt like. And the only way to chase that feeling is to keep watching. Segment 4, the ancient reason this all makes sense. Now, step back from the biology for a moment and ask a bigger question. Why does the human brain work this way? Why would evolution produce a nervous system that responds to other people's victories as if they were our own? Why would watching a stranger run fast-release hormones in our bodies? The answer takes us back to something older than civilization, older than language, older than cities or agriculture or written history. Human beings survived because of tribes. For the vast majority of our evolutionary history, the group was everything. Your tribe's success was your survival. When the strongest hunters brought down prey, everyone ate. When the fastest runners escaped predators, everyone lived. The fate of the individual was inseparable from the fate of the collective. The mirror neuron system, the hormonal response to group victory, these are not glitches in human psychology. They are features, sophisticated, ancient features that kept our ancestors alive by binding them emotionally to the outcomes of the people around them. When you feel your heart race as your team drives toward the goal line, you are not being irrational. You are running ancient software that once meant the difference between life and death. The jersey has replaced the tribal marking. The stadium has replaced the savanna. But the biology beneath it, the deep, cellular need to belong to a group and to feel that group's victories as your own, is as old as our species. Sports didn't create this need. They simply give it somewhere to go. Segment 5. When the mirror breaks, here is where the science takes a darker and more revealing turn. Not everyone experiences sports or social life this way. Researchers studying the mirror neuron system have discovered that some individuals show significantly reduced activation in these circuits. The experience of simulated empathy, of feeling what another person feels, of inhabiting their experience, is diminished or absent. The consequences of this are profound. Without a functioning mirror neuron system, social interaction becomes a process of conscious inference rather than felt understanding. You don't feel what another person feels. You have to calculate it, work it out logically, translate their facial expressions and body language into information rather than receiving it as direct experience. At the extreme end of this spectrum, researchers have found that individuals who commit acts of extreme violence, including serial killers, often show severe deficits in mirror neuron functioning. They are not indifferent to others because they have chosen to be. Their neurology does not produce the automatic, visceral experience of another person's pain as pain. The empathy that most of us take for granted, that we exercise effortlessly every time we watch a game, every time a stranger's smile produces warmth in us, is not universal, which reframes sports fandom in an extraordinary way. When tens of thousands of people fill a stadium and collectively experience the same emotional arc, the tension, the hope, the despair, the triumph, they are performing one of the most ancient and most biologically significant acts available to the human species. They are practicing empathy at scale. They are exercising the mirror neuron system that binds human beings to one another, that allows us to understand each other, to care about each other, to function as something larger than isolated individuals. Sports, in this light, are not an escape from what matters. They are a ritual rehearsal of our most essential human capacity. Segment 6. What this means about you. So the next time someone tells you to stop taking sports so seriously, the next time you catch yourself wondering why you care this much about something that doesn't, in any rational sense, affect your life, remember this: you are not being irrational, you are not being childish, you are not wasting your emotional energy on something trivial. You are running a program that is millions of years old. A program designed with extraordinary precision to connect you to other human beings, to make their victories feel like your victories, to make their excellence inspire something in you that reaches beyond the ordinary limits of your individual life. Your racing heart is your nervous system saying, "These are my people. Their triumph is my triumph. I am not alone in this." That is not weakness. That is one of the most beautiful things about being human. But here's the question this video leaves open, and it's one that scientists are still working to answer. If watching others win can trigger the same biology as winning yourself, if your brain genuinely cannot fully distinguish between the two, what else are you watching that is quietly shaping your hormones, your memory, your sense of self? What are the other arenas where your mirror neurons are firing? And what are they teaching your nervous system about who you are and what you're capable of? That question goes somewhere much deeper than sports. And that's exactly where we're going next.